In our last video, we looked at how climate change could in fact be to blame for this year's extreme weather, but of course not everybody agrees. It is interesting that although climate change is uppermost in many people's minds, not everyone thinks it is having such a dramatic immediate effect. Despite suffering through this year's weather, many people point to the potential effect from just the slightest change to the Gulf airstream, which may in fact have little to do with the environment. These effects could be linked to simple patterns in the weather, or even solar flares from the sun. Shropshire-born weather expert Piers Corbyn, for example, believes that the Earth is actually cooling down as part of a long-term pattern. But what do people on the streets of Shropshire think?
Well, it's linked with recycling and people using all of their cars and everything like that. So I think that people should be more aware of the effect that their purchases have on the environment.
I'm a bit sceptical on it because there might be there might be cycles of weather that are larger than we're measuring. So some of it yes, some of it no. I think a lot of it's scaremongering.
Well, I think from what research has shown us, there's a lot of people are using far too many fossil fuels and it's causing greenhouse gases, and I think that's got a lot to do with what's happening.
The various beliefs regarding climate change, and in particular the damage caused by carbon dioxide, cannot be narrowed down to just one opinion. Of course, many people are simply concerned about the environment and are convinced that the damage is man-made. But there is a body of people who point to a lack of proof about man-made climate change, and in particular the supposed damage being done by road transport. One such cynic is Paul Biggs, who as coordinator of the British Association of Drivers in the area that includes Shropshire, has performed a huge amount of research into the effects of emissions from road vehicles.
Well, it's important not to confuse the weather with climate change, and the weather was a result of unusual conditions that split Europe in two, where southern Europe had heat waves and we got very slow moving rain over us. Climate change isn't a new phenomenon. So what is new is man putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but if you look back at the last 12,000 years since the last ice age, we've seen continual periods of warming followed by cooling. In fact, the Holocene optimum in temperatures was about 5,000 years ago. We've had the Roman warm period followed by the medieval warm period, which was followed by the Little Ice Age, and now we're in the modern warm period, so there's a great deal of natural variability which we can't see has been exceeded so far. You can't control the weather or the climate with a single factor like carbon dioxide. In fact, the Earth's climate is very stable because it's not very sensitive to carbon dioxide. If it was very sensitive, then it would either got extremely hot or extremely cold, and we wouldn't be here now.
But regardless of the thoughts put forward by different bodies on both sides of the argument, there is little doubt that Shropshire's weather this year has put the environment at the centre of a huge national debate. Indeed, much of the county had grown used to occasional floods from the River Severn and even River Teme. But when extreme weather occurs in unexpected areas and even puts lives at risk, any debate at all can perhaps help Shropshire solve problems during its hour of need.